I'm the Amazing Spider-Man of the 4 in the game, and so I have the lion's share of all of the dialogue.
Let's get a good look at that gorgeous mug. Don't be so bashful.
Which is fun, because he's the more sarcastic of them.
I'm Dan Gilvezan, performing the role of Spider-Man 2099. I was thrilled to hear that they were going to use some of the older voices, because these are the voices that the fans really know and appreciate.
Alley-oop! I think we recorded 25 different variations for when something happens. So when Spider-Man beats a boss, he can say, and that's that. Or he can say,
who's having a good time? Raise your hand.
So I think the more you play it, the different stuff will happen. You can follow exactly what it is you're supposed to do, or you can kind of diverge from it and kind of explore different areas within a game.
My name is Josh Keaton, and I play Ultimate Spider-Man. I think the thing that I relate to most about Peter Parker is the fact that he leads a double life, because when I was in high school, I was a total dork, but on the other side, I had a whole different group of friends.
Wow, that's not too big or anything. Can somebody say overcompensating?
He's kind of the trash talker of the Marvel heroes.
Look what I can do! I make it look easy.
I think that that's going to be something people look for. People want to have that attitude.
I'm Christopher Daniel Barnes, and I'm playing Spider-Man Noir. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. It's creative, and to see that there's really sort of an overwhelmingly positive response to what you've done, that's just a great feeling. For people that like stealth and shadows and more strategic thinking, I think that they're going to really like Noir. One of the great things about this is it takes 4 separate worlds and puts them together into one game, and what more can you ask for, really?
Naturally, I think the 2099 and the actor behind that voice is probably the finest of all. But, some of the other guys, you're a little sensitive, oh, I think I'm better than you are, you're better than I'm the best, really.
We're dealing with a combat game here.
In our game, you have Amazing Spider-Man with all his web-based attacks. He will use his web to grab stuff and slam his enemies.
His web does great shapes like hammers and cannonballs. He is super strong as a character, so he got the full package.
Amazing Spider-Man is the one where I was very attached to it in the production. And the combat system with the web was hard, and I was not sure where I was going with this. And at the end, I think it paid off.
So we're doing some animation here. We have some muscle deformation here, which we didn't have before.
And then we have 2099. He's quick in his attacks. He will teleport himself to enemies from one to the next. He will jump on a guy, leaving like a holographic trail next to him, and he will have much more reach than all the other Spider-Man with his claws.
He must make good use of spider sense as well, because he has to slow down time whenever projectiles are coming at him.
We have Ultimate.
The black suit with the tendrils will provide something that has a lot of energy.
He enters rage mode that blasts everything around him, and then he will become super powerful for a given amount of time. Noir is much more your tough guy, almost like a bar fighter or something like that.
So you have to take a stealth approach and web your enemies one by one.
You will be able to web grab a guy from down below and slam him on the walls. We do have first-person sequences where you could grab the guy and punch him in the face, but really close up.
You'll have a chance to beat up the villain up close and personal. This is a rewarding moment, sort of a candy to the player. It's greatly satisfying to just be able to finally say to Kraven, shut up.
We tried to create a different feeling for each character, but at the same time we didn't want the player to get lost in various button combinations. So each character has the same set of moves that looks and feel different. You can unlock a combo for every character, and you can try it in the game right away.
It will be the same kind of button inputs that you have to do from one Spider-Man to the next, but the visual effect is going to be completely different, and it's just awesome.
Greetings, true believers. Stan Lee here, welcoming you to the latest harrowing adventure of our high-powered hero, the Amazing Spider-Man. The fact that I had something to do with his origin, and that today he's one of the world's most recognizable and popular superheroes, well, as you can imagine, it's a great feeling. I've been asked what aspects of my character do I see in Spider-Man, and I would say his courage, his nobility, his sense of always doing the right thing. I would say the greatness in that man in some way reminds me of me. I think the idea of a player being able to be 4 different Spider-Men in one game is just such a clever idea. It's like a player having 4 games in one. He can be 4 different versions of the same great hero. Spider-Man has had so many different villains, supervillains. I think one of my favorites has been Kraven the Hunter, because he's a little bit different than most other villains, and there's even something likable about him, even though he's a villain. I think probably one of the reasons for Spider-Man's enduring popularity is the fact that he's probably the most human of all the superheroes. He has these personal problems, which makes it easy for an audience to relate to him. As Spider-Man is sort of the superhero who could be you. For the latest Spider-Man game news, check out SpidermanDimensions.com.
Hi, my name is Megan Morgan, and I am a senior producer at Activision. Today I'm here to introduce Activision's new Spider-Man game, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Shattered Dimensions is a really exciting, new, unique concept for Spider-Man that combines 4 different universes together in one game. We really wanted to build upon the strengths of our previous Spider-Man games, but at the same time, shake things up. Do a little something different outside of the box with Spider-Man this time. So we looked at the Marvel comic lore and saw that there's all of these universes that haven't been brought to life yet in video games. So we chose 4 of these universes to combine together into one game. Today, we're very excited to announce the first 2 of the 4 universes, the Amazing Universe and the Noir Universe. The Amazing Universe is the classic Spider-Man universe that's been portrayed in the comics for the past 50 years, known and loved by fans throughout the world. It's a throwback to the comics. It's a very classic style of ink on paper type of comic book simulation graphic style. The Noir Universe is a retelling of the Spider-Man origin story, as if Spider-Man had gotten his powers in the 1930s. The graphic style of this universe is a bit darker than what you're used to seeing for Spider-Man, gritty, a film noir type of graphic style that plays with areas of light and shadow. The difference between the universes is not just purely graphics. The Spider-Men each have a core gameplay mechanic that is unique to each universe. In the Amazing Universe, his core gameplay mechanic is web-based combat. So Amazing Spider-Man uses his webs to blind his enemies as web shots, to create big hammers, weapons, staffs, balls that he shoots at enemies and knocks them down, as well as uses his webs to interact with objects in the environment, pick them up and throw them at enemies to take them out. In the Noir universe, the core gameplay mechanic is stealth-based combat. The player must really use strategy to stay in the shadows and take advantage of the fact that he is hidden from the enemies, sneak up on them, identify where they are in the universe, sneak up on them and take them down with a variety of different stealth takedowns, all the while really strategizing on how to move best throughout the level without being seen by any of the enemies. Spider-Man and his villains have a very iconic type of relationship as portrayed throughout the comics historically. And we really wanted to highlight the relationship that Spider-Man has with a lot of these very iconic villains in the game. The 2 villains that we are announcing today are Kraven in the Amazing Universe and Hammerhead in the Noir Universe. Kraven is the world's greatest hunter, and usually when Kraven and Spider-Man are fighting, Kraven is hunting Spider-Man through the streets of New York City. But in our game, we've turned the tables on this relationship a little bit, and Spider-Man has traveled to Kraven's turf and is hunting Kraven through a jungle. In the Noir Universe, the villain that we're announcing today is Hammerhead. And Hammerhead is a very traditional, iconic Spider-Man villain who does not yet exist in the Noir comic series. But when we were brainstorming of which villains we wanted to include in the game, our designers felt that Hammerhead would be a perfect fit for the Noir universe. So we approached Marvel and pitched the idea of creating a Hammerhead exclusive to the game for the Noir universe. Marvel was very excited about it and worked closely with us to develop and design the Hammerhead that is in our game. So today, this is just a first look at Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and I can promise you there will be a lot more coming in the future months. Look for us at WonderCon, E3, Comic-Con for more information about the other two universes, as well as more information about a number of the other iconic Spider-Man villains in the game.
Hey guys, I'm Haley Bright from CoinOp TV, and I'm here with Thomas Wilson, Creative Director of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. So, as of today, you guys have announced 3 out of the 4 universes so far. Can you give me a breakdown of these 3 universes?
Absolutely. So we got Amazing Spider-Man, which is sort of the classic hero that everybody has come to love. The treatment, because each of the universes have a different art style. So for Amazing Spider-Man, we have sort of a pen-and-ink treatment, sort of like paying tribute to the old comic book genre. So flatter texture treatment, you know, sort of a little bit of nostalgia there. Amazing Spider-Man is the typical character that everybody has come to love. We have, it's web-based combat. You can make a lot of shapes with his webs, like giant hammers, spike balls, you know, giant fists. It's really a very sort of like a spectacular looking combat system. Then we have Spider-Man Noir, where we slow down the pace. It's definitely more, it revolves around stealth. You really need to use the shadows to your advantage. Crawl up on walls, you know, perch up high, find locations where you can hide before performing a takedown on each of the enemies. If you go up front, you know, you're probably going to get killed. So it's really about stealth, really taking everyone one by one in your webs. And then we've just announced Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man from the future. How cool is that? So it's taking place in the city. It's taking place in New York in the future. Very, you know, a lot of verticality. And what's specific to 2099, and he's got web voice that allows him to perform like high diving action sequences that we've never seen before in a Spider-Man game. So really diving, base jumping basically, to chase after the villains that you'll find in the game.
In previous Spider-Man games, you know, they've incorporated different voiceover actors from different Spider-Man entities, kind of hyped up all the fan appreciation. What are you guys doing in this game to hype up your fan appreciation?
We're actually doing a lot. What I can say is we've announced 2 voice actors for the game so far. So we have Christopher Daniel Barnes, who used to be the voice actor for Spider-Man for the animated series in the 1990s. And then we've just announced Dan Gilvezan, who used to be the initial voice actor for the for the TV series way back. Now, what I can say is the 2 others, like all of the voice actors we have for the game, have at one point in their lives voiced Spider-Man. So it's going to be super cool. And we have a great cast of voice actors for all the other characters in the game, including the villains.
And I know that you guys haven't unveiled the Spider-Man senses yet, but can you give me a little bit of a hint of what we might be seeing with that?
Sure. So yeah, you wouldn't be Spider-Man if you didn't have a spider sense, right? So what we do is, like, the spider sense in our game has the unique features of being able to see enemies through walls and also see what we call their health aura. So that way you can see if the enemy is close to sort of like losing consciousness, not dying. We can't really, kill anybody, but, losing consciousness. So we have their aura that allows the character to see, the player to see how close they are to losing consciousness. You can see interactive objects also as well being highlighted. And so it's a vision mode. Like for Amazing, that's what's going to happen. For Noir, what's interesting is activating your spider sense will allow you to better see in the dark. So that's kind of cool. It's almost like wearing night vision goggles, if you will. And 2099 has something unique. It's what we call, and it's from the comics, it's what we call the accelerated vision. And so what it does, basically, from a gameplay standpoint, is that it allows the player to slow down everything around him while maintaining his own speed. So that's a way of like having an advantage over combat and the characters that, would be faster than you.
All right, guys, I'm Haley Bright from CoinOp TV, and that wraps it up for Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. We look forward to seeing more.
Every night, I'm going to be out here, leaving the mark of the spider. But somehow I know I'm not the only one.
We're here with Stefan, who's producer on Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. The last few Spider-Mans haven't been that great. What are you trying to do to sort of bring back Spider-Man to, because he's been in some great video games in the past?
Well, the first thing we do basically is we did something completely new with the game. We went in a direction that was never done before. So basically that means 4 different Spider-Man, 4 different dimensions, 4 different art styles, and different gameplays in all dimensions as well. So you get change of pacing while playing, you get new areas because the level were designed especially for the bosses, so you're not always in New York City. Like, for example, I don't know if you saw the trailer, but there's Kraven and you're in the jungle, so that was rarely seen in a video game about Spider-Man previously.
So can you tell us a little bit how you tie these 4 dimensions together in the game, because it's still one game, right?
Yeah, it's one game, and at first, at the beginning, we had the idea about 4 different worlds, but we weren't sure exactly how we would be linking all those universes together. So we brought on board Dan Slott, that is the actual writer of the Amazing Spider-Man comic book. So we brainstormed with him about a few ideas, and he is the one that came up with a mystical artifact that's called the Tablet of Order and Chaos. And basically, at the beginning of the game, while fighting, that tablet gets shattered in multiple pieces that ends up in each dimension. So every Spider-Man in each dimension needs to chase about those pieces in order to restore order in the universe, if you want to. So in each universe, you have villains that put their hands on a piece of the tablet and are able to use it to power themselves up. So you end up fighting villains that has new powers. For example, in Kraven, when he uses the piece of the tablet, he ends up being more quicker, more powerful than before. So even if you fight Kraven in the past, it's not the same Kraven as before.
So have you revealed all the 4 dimensions that we'll be playing?
No, right now we revealed Spider-Man Noir in Amazing Spider-Man a couple of months ago. For E3 we revealed Spider-Man 2099, and we'll be revealing the 4th one at San Diego Comic-Con at the end of July, so in about 5 weeks.
Could you describe how it is to play Spider-Man 2099? What does he bring to the table?
Okay, what's different with Spider-Man 2099? Basically, it's that in the future, the rich people wanted to live as far as possible from the poor people. So they built really, really high buildings. So we use that verticality to create a gameplay that we call free falling, but that's base jumping. So in the future, Spider-Man has web foils beneath his armpits. So by using those foils, he's able to speed up or slow down to dodge obstacles. So that's something that was never done before in a Spider-Man game.
And how is it to play Noir and the Amazing Spider-Man? Is that more of a traditional Spider-Man game?
Well, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man is the classic Spider-Man that we've known since our childhood, basically. And what we've done with him, basically, is uses his web a lot. So while fighting, he'll be creating shapes like boxing gloves and maces, hammers, in order to defeat his enemies. For Spider-Man Noir, we went with a different approach. It's stealth-based, so you must hide in the shadows, sneak behind your enemies in order to take them down using your spider powers, obviously.
So sounds like there's a lot of different gameplay mechanics in the game, but I'm sure that the game has an audience that some of them are a little bit younger. Is that something that you have to keep it a little bit simple as well?
Well, there's in fact, what we did is basically we have the same control scheme all around in all the universes. So once you learn to do something, you'll know how to do it in all the 4 universes. So even though it looks like it's 4 different games, it's the same mechanics, the same basic mechanics in all games. So once you've learned a combo, you'll know how to do it in all dimensions.
All right, so when will it be done?
Well, it's due in September, so it's going to be done soon.
Pretty soon. You better get back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Hello, it's me, Mario. Woohoo! You're watching GRTV, my favorite. Wahoo!
We're looking at Spider-Man Dimensions. I'm here with Thomas Wilson, the creative director. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Spider-Man Dimensions and specifically which dimensions of Spider-Man we're going to be seeing?
Yes, the word dimensions is really important here because you get in the game, you get to play 4 different Spider-Man. We thought it was a unique twist, something we've never seen before. We thought it was fresh. That's what we wanted to do. So you actually get to play 4 of them. One is Amazing Spider-Man, the classic hero that everybody's come to love, the red and blue suit. Then we have Ultimate Spider-Man, which is a younger version of the Amazing Spider-Man. And this time, Ultimate Spider-Man is wearing the black suit. So we're able to do crazy things with the suit that's completely different from Amazing Spider-Man. Then we have 2 worlds that we haven't seen before yet in a video game. So we have Spider-Man Noir, brand new series by Marvel, only 8 comic books out or something. And it's very dark, it's gritty. It's taking place in the 1930s as if Peter Parker had gotten his powers back then. So it's a stealth game. It's stealth gameplay this time around. And then we have Spider-Man 2099. So it's Spider-Man in the future, and it's taking place in a futuristic rendering of New York City. So 4 different Spider-Man, 4 different art styles as well. Each dimension has its unique art style.
And how are the dimensions sort of delivered to the player? Are the campaigns done one after the other, or are they interspersed in some way? Can you choose which one to play?
Yes, to talk about how they're put together, we need to talk about the story a little bit. We brought Dan Slott, the current amazing comic book writer, to flesh out the details of the story. So the story revolves around an artifact a mystical artifact known as the Tablet of Order and Chaos. At the beginning of the game, our main villain, Mysterio, tries to steal the powerful tablet from a museum. So Amazing Spider-Man tries to prevent him from stealing it and ends up shattering the tablet. So the tablet fragments are scattered through multiple dimensions, and Madam Web, the sort of the clairvoyant character that's been in the Spider-Man universe for a while, appears to Spider-Man, telling him that he's got to have to sort of make up for his mistake. And so it's up to each of the Spider-Men in each dimension to retrieve all the fragments of the tablet. So in the game, the story is divided in 3 acts. So we have Act 1, 2, and 3. In each act, you get to play one level of each dimension, but you get to play them in the order you choose. So you can play Amazing first, Ultimate first, and so on. So you have choice here. But there's no crossover in the sense that it's a level-based game, and there's a villain attached to one particular level. That level is tailored to the boss. So once you go, let's say, in an Amazing level, let's say you fight Kraven in the jungle, for instance, you complete that level, then you're taken back to the level selection screen, if you will, and then you pick up another dimension and so forth. So once you've completed 4 of them, we move on to Act 2. We move on the story along with a pre-rendered CG cutscene, and then so forth.
So all these different Spider-Man versions of Spider-Man, you're almost bringing them together into a single canon. If you're saying they've been split and shattered.
Yeah.
Were Marvel happy with that? Are they happy with these different Spider-Men sort of coming that close together?
Actually, they were super excited about it. And we knew right from the start, as we started working on the game, we really wanted to make something different. There's been multiple Spider-Man games out there, and we asked ourselves, what can we do that will get this people excited about this one, and what would bring newcomers? And to actually get to play 4 different Spider-Man, it's almost like having 4 games in one. And, there's a reason why the slogan is like 4 parallel world, 1 unparalleled adventure. It's because it's really moving on from one dimension to the next. They each have their unique gameplay feature, but at the same time, it's all about variety, really. I mean, that's what we think is most important for this game, is that players will be taken to different locations, encounter different villains, different contexts, different locations, and that makes a big difference.
I briefly played Spider-Man Noir, that dimension of the game. And you must be excited for a start to be working on such a fresh new Spider-Man. But to me, it felt a little bit like Arkham Asylum, the play style. Obviously, Batman's another huge comic book star. Was that an inspiration for that mode?
Well, to be honest, we started working on that game a long time ago, and Batman Arkham Asylum took us by surprise. It came out a little bit out of nowhere. I was looking at it, just looking at screenshots, and then you play the game, and I was like, oh my. There are things that are kind of similar. But to be honest, what Batman did for us, because the reason why Batman Arkham Asylum is such a good game is because it's true to the character. It's true to the license, it's true to who he is and the world and everything. And people enjoyed playing that game because they felt like Batman. What it did to us is reminded us of the importance of making sure that we maintain the Spider-Man DNA in our game and that people playing a Spider-Man game would feel like Spider-Man. You know, it's not Batman, it's Spider-Man. But yes, I mean, there's some similarities, if you will, looking at the stealth aspect of the noir dimension, but that's only a fourth of our game. That doesn't mean we didn't spend the effort and the energy to make it great. It just means that there's other stuff in our game as well.
And finally, I've heard you got some interesting voice actors for each individual Spider-Man. Can you tell me who they are and how they came to join the project?
Yes, absolutely. So voice acting was super important for our game. We really wanted to sort of please the fans out there. And for those who didn't know, still have really good voice talent. So we have 4 different voice actors voicing Spider-Man. It was important to us to actually have different actors instead of having one trying to perform 4 different ones. So we have Neil Patrick Harris, who's voicing Amazing Spider-Man. We have Christopher Daniel Barnes voicing Spider-Man Noir. We have Dan Gelvazan voicing Spider-Man 2099, and then we have Josh Keaton voicing Ultimate Spider-Man. They all have at one point in their life voiced Spider-Man before, and so that was great to actually bring these together. And when people started hearing about who they were, they got really excited, and so we were really happy about that.
Excellent. I really look forward to playing it.
My name is Thomas Wilson, and I'm the creative director on Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Actually, today was our first hands-on with one of the 4 worlds that we have, Spider-Man Noir. What's interesting about this dimension is that it revolves around stealth. So what you guys have been playing today is a version of that. It's actually how the gameplay is actually has a slower pace compared to the other dimensions, but it's really one where you just, basically embracing the shadows, using shadows to your advantage, and taking down the enemies one by one. Some of the new stuff that you've seen today, like saving civilians, is part of the missions, part of the secondary objectives that we're introducing in the Spider-Man Noir world. So basically, yes, you have to take the enemies down one by one, but sometimes there's a purpose behind that. So in this case, it's about saving civilians because Hammerhead has actually captured some of them to prevent you from, finding him. So in this case, what you got to do is take the guards one by one until you can get to the civilians, and then hop them on your shoulder and take them to a safe location. So, and once in a while in the game, in the Spider-Man War universe, that's in the Spider-Man Noir universe, these are the things that you might be doing. In terms of fighting style, the fighting style for Noir is slightly more realistic, if you will. Basically, because it's taking place in the 1930s, we wanted to ground the combat down to earth a little bit more. So you're still an acrobatic character, but it's definitely more realistic and less exaggerated than the other dimensions, if you will.
I guess that's my cue.
So you guys finally got your hands on Ultimate Spider-Man. We can finally talk about it, how exciting, that dimension is super exciting. So it's the final dimension, one that we think people and fans will really like. But it's not just Ultimate Spider-Man, it's Ultimate Spider-Man wearing the black suit. And so it allowed us to actually push the fighting style further by just doing crazy things with the symbiotic suit. So basically, you can, tendrils and tentacles will be coming out of the suit as an extension of your fighting moves. And that provides a lot of reach when you're fighting around, which is kind of cool. We also have to talk about what we call the rage mode, because as you hit enemies and you're being hit by enemies, you're actually filling up your rage meter. Once that's full, you can just release its awesome power, and then you can just have more powerful moves that allow you to hit the enemies with crazy attacks, that just have crazy tentacles coming out of the suit. So the 2 worlds we haven't seen today are Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. Amazing Spider-Man is our tribute to the vintage comic books, and Spider-Man 2099 is taking place in the future, in this very futuristic city. We're really excited to be showing these 2 worlds in the next coming month, but so far I hope you enjoyed what you've seen today, and the game will be released in September 7th on PS3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo Wii, and there's also a DS version.
report.
We're here with Mario Nataro, level designer for Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
I guess that's my cue.
The whole Spider-Man franchise has been wildly successful, especially after the second one. Now you guys are taking it to another dimension with Shattered Dimensions. Tell us a bit about this new game.
Well, really what we've been trying to do is come up with a whole new idea for the game. Actually, we're trying to do what we did do, and have 4 different Spider-Men in the same game. In a lot of games, you know, there are different ways to play the same character or different modes, but in this game we actually have 4 different Spider-Men in the same game. So that allows us to vary the art style, the gameplay style within the same game, but we have an overarching story which actually ties it all together and makes it all make sense.
Now, one of the success stories of this Spider-Man franchise has been the whole sandbox approach you guys took.
Yeah.
Is that going to be still in Shattered Dimensions?
Well, not exactly, not in the way you would normally think of it. We wanted to have the ability to guide the story a bit more and have a literary approach to it, make it more feel like you're actually playing the comic book. So what we did is we created a linear gameplay, but within that linear gameplay there are wide open spaces that you can explore and swing around in and be Spider-Man.
You don't just get to be one Spider-Man, you get to be a bunch of different Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay, well we've got Amazing Spider-Man. That's the classic one, from the 1960s. That's the one, most everybody knows. You've got Ultimate Spider-Man, which is Peter Parker when he's more of a teenager. You've got Spider-Man Noir, which is Spider-Man from like the 1930s. It's more of like a black and white with just a little bit of color, more of like a gritty kind of a film noir style to it, a stealth gameplay. And we've got Spider-Man 2099, which is set in the future, the year 2099. And it's actually not Peter Parker, it's Miguel O'Hara.
As in the comics, there are many other Spider-Man other than the ones you guys have used. Is there going to be option of downloaded content in the form of other Spider-Man for this game?
At this time, no, not in downloadable content, but there are a lot of unlockable suits within the game. So you collect stuff, you collect Spider Essence within the game, and you can use that to both upgrade your character and purchase unlockable suits.
Cool. So tell us when this game is going to come out?
September 7th.
All right, man. Mario, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Fans should really be excited for this game because it combines 4 different universes together in one game. Each universe has a very distinctive art style, a really distinctive gameplay mechanic, and Spider-Man himself looks and feels different from universe to universe. Each universe will have its own unique gameplay style. In the Amazing Universe, this is a very high, fast-paced, web-based combat. The Amazing Spider-Man uses his webs to make hammers as weapons, to use web shots to blind his enemies, and the webs are a very active part of the combat. Whereas the Noir universe is a new comic series from Marvel, where he's in the 1930s. It's a bit darker, a bit grittier, and the gameplay mechanic is a stealth-based combat style. We've included for the first time in a Spider-Man game first-person sequences, and these are basically interactive cutscenes where the player really gets to feel like they've become Spidey. The camera will switch into a first-person perspective, and it's a punch-out style of gameplay where it's interactive and you see yourself actually causing damage to the enemy. The levels are really designed around specific bosses, so everything from the graphic style, the actual environment that the boss is in itself, as well as the minions in the level are really tailored to be in line with who that boss of that level is. The 2 villains that we're announcing this week are Kraven from the Amazing Universe and Hammerhead from the Noir Universe. We're not announcing any of the other villains in the game, but I can promise you that there's a huge cast of characters to come. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is releasing in September of 2010 on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Nintendo Wii, and Nintendo DS.
Okay, tell us who you are and what your role is in the Spider-Man game.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Umbricht. I'm associate producer at Activision on Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Can you tell us a bit about the game?
Yeah, definitely. This is the new Spider-Man game that comes out this September. With this game, it's being developed by Beenox in Quebec City, one of our Activision studios. And they had this great idea to take Spider-Man into 4 different dimensions at once. In looking at the comics, there were all these alternate Spider-Man in different dimensions over the course of Spidey's 50-year history. And they really wanted to kind of bring that experience to the player by creating 4 Spideys, 4 different art styles, 4 unique gameplay mechanics, but all in one game where you play as Spider-Man.
Can you tell us a little bit about each world?
Sure. We've announced all 4 universes. We have the Amazing Spider-Man, which is the classic comic Spider-Man universe. This is a nod to the old comics of pen and ink art style, and this features a lot of over-the-top web-based combat. We have the new Noir universe, which is based on a recent comic series that tells the story of Spidey in the 1930s, and we're focusing on stealth gameplay here with hiding in the shadows, and the art style is very gritty, dark, film noir. We have the Ultimate Universe, which is a lot of over-the-top action, big moves. Spidey's in his black suit, so he's got tendril attacks and a rage mode, and the colors are very vibrant, very saturated to kind of simulate the recent comic book style. And then we also have the futuristic world of 2099, where you play as a different Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara, who's a scientist in the future taking down the corrupt Alchemax Corporation. And here we play with the verticality of the future New York City with free-fall sections and really fierce, fast combat.
How did you decide on these 4 worlds out of the entire history of Spider-Man?
Well, we looked at everything and we just sort of said, hey, what are 4 universes that are going to bring something new to the table and are different enough from each other so that you get this unique experience in each universe. And these 4 were handpicked. 1, because they had great storylines, great characters, and 2, because we could make great gameplay out of them.
And can you talk a little bit more about what the distinctive gameplay styles are?
Mm-hmm. So in the Noir universe, you have this stealth gameplay. This Spidey isn't as powerful as the others he wants. So you have to really be strategic and stealthy to take out your opponents one by one, use the shadows to your advantage, just like he does in the comics. In the Ultimate Universe, you have a rage mode. Since you're wearing the black suit, it feeds off the energy and the anger of Peter Parker. So as you take damage or as you inflict damage, there's a rage meter that fills up, and then you can unleash, once it's full, these powerful area attacks and super powerful moves. In the Amazing Universe, it's all about web combat. You use the webbings to make big hammers and maces and fists and all these shapes, and you can pull sections of the ground out to hit enemies with, and pull weapons out of their hands or blind them with web shots. All these great sorts of things that you can do. It's very acrobatic, and it's just very classic Spider-Man. And in 2099, as I mentioned, the freefall sections, this was a big opportunity to take put Spidey in a different space with some aerial combat. He fights his enemies in the air, falling through the world, dodging hover cars and debris and all sorts of things. So it's high impact, high energy, and just a really cool new feature.
And then can you talk a little bit about the voice acting?
Yeah, the voice acting. We looked at all the classic games and cartoons and everything, and we picked the 4 voice actors that we thought were appropriate and best, that fans would love and were best suited for the game. So we went with 4 different Spider-Man voice actors. We have Neil Patrick Harris as the Amazing Spider-Man. We have Josh Keaton, who is the current Spider-Man on Spectacular Spider-Man as Ultimate. Christopher Daniel Barnes, who was the voice in the 90s as Noir. And Dan Gilvezan, who was the voice of Spider-Man as Amazing Friends in the 1980s. And then we have a whole host of other actors playing all the villains, fan favorites there, and also we have Stan Lee narrating the game itself.
Awesome. And then on one final note, what can you tell us are the 2 or 3 biggest improvements in gameplay between this Spider-Man and the last couple of Spider-Man?
Well, we focused here on variety. We wanted to bring a lot of new things to the table. So by creating these 4 different art styles and these 4 different universes, we brought different types of gameplay elements in. We brought the stealth in, we brought the high-powered ultimate black suit in. So we've deepened our combat system, we've improved upon a lot of things, but it's really by exploring these 4 different worlds, we've been able to bring a lot of new stuff to Spider-Man games that you haven't seen before.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
As soon as we learned that we were going to be working on the game, I asked myself, what is it that we haven't seen yet in the video game world, in the Spider-Man universe? At first, we were just looking at it as possibilities for, like an exclusive game in the future, an exclusive game in the noir genre. But then as we brainstormed, the idea sort of came together to actually be able to play them all. And so, that proved to be quite a challenge at first, because people are like, what, 4 games in one? Are you guys crazy? And we're like, no. Then we started looking at it, and it made a lot of sense. So we were able to establish that we could have 4 worlds, 4 different Spider-Man in one game, with each their unique art direction. Once we had established that we wanted to have a concept with 4 worlds, we brought Dan Slott into the mix. Dan Slott is the actual writer of the Amazing Comic Book series. So he came up with the mystical artifact known as the Tablet of Order and Chaos. And so when that tablet gets shattered in the beginning of the game, the fragments are sent through multiple dimensions, and it's up to each Spider-Man to retrieve them. Now, unfortunately for Spider-Man, it ends up in the wrong hands. Each villain actually gets a piece of the tablet and gains additional superpowers that no one has seen before, and basically it's up to them to retrieve all fragments of the tablet. So the brand new universe that we revealed is 2099. And I was really excited to be revealing that universe. What's great about 2099 is the city itself, and the city has its personality. I mean, we're talking about high verticality. We're talking about a city bustling with life. It's sensory overload, basically. It's cars driving all over the place, like giant animated billboards, commercials playing all over the place. The influence really was sort of a blend of Blade Runner, The Fifth Element, and a little bit of our own design. And so the other thing that's unique to 2099 is the fact that Spider-Man has web foils that allows him to actually, dive at high speed. Base jump, basically, in some of the areas of the level, which provides great, action moments that are totally exclusive to 2099. Also, this character has talents, and so we, his fighting style is more towards fighting up close and personal, basically leaping on your enemies, with claws, and but also he's got something unique that none of the other Spider-Mans have. It's what we call the accelerated vision. That's a big term for allowing the character to slow down things around him while keeping your speed. You gain advantage over the battle when you fight enemies that move at high speed, or if a missile is sent at you, then you can slow down time and then move around and get an advantage over the combat.
We all face our fair share of evil.
So basically, the story is divided in 3 acts. So we have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And in each one, you have to go through one level of each dimension. So, and it's up to the player. Basically, the player decides which one he wants to pick. So you can go in 2099, you can go Noir, Amazing, Unknown Universe, not revealed yet. And once all of them are completed, then we move on with the story with Act 2. And so the player has a liberty there and can just pick up the levels he feels he wants to complete. The levels have been designed so you have enough freedom of movement within the levels to feel like you're Spider-Man. So you can web swing anywhere you want. You can crawl on any surface you want. That we've maintained. So in this case, for 2099, you can still web swing in the city. The city will have its limits. But not to the point where you would feel cheated or frustrated when you're playing the game. After all, you're after the villain. So, the idea is you have to catch up to him. And the level design is designed in such a way that, you wouldn't start, web swinging, in the wrong direction. So we still have that all intact in our game. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions coming in September on PS3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, and DS.
Stéphane Gravel. I'm a producer at Beenox, a studio of Activision that is located in Quebec City. And here is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, our latest game. Earlier this year, we revealed the Amazing Spider-Man, which is the classic Spidey that we've all known since our childhood, and Spider-Man Noir, which is a brand new take on the Spider-Man series with a really different approach, a darker and grittier approach. Then at E3, we revealed Spider-Man 2099, which is Spider-Man from the future, and which is really different from the other two. And recently at San Diego Comic-Con, we revealed the fourth and last one, which is Ultimate Spider-Man, but with a twist with the black symbiote suit. So again, something that is completely different from the other three universes. So basically what happened at the beginning of the game is that powerful artifact called the Tablet of Order and Chaos gets shattered while Spidey is fighting Mysterio. And those pieces end up scattered in 4 different dimensions. So basically Spidey has to team up with his other selves in order to restore order in those 4 different dimensions. We've got the web swing experience basically because, well, I am appreciated in the previous games and everybody's appreciated, so we wanted to have that in the game. And people liked the combat system in Web of Shadows a lot, so we did inspire ourselves from that combat system. The fighting style for each Spidey, it's different. Amazing uses his webs a lot. 2099 is really dynamic. He moves really quickly. Ultimate uses his symbiote suit, so with the tendrils you get more reach. And Spidey Noir is more of a brawler type, so you can fight up close and personal, but it's better to stay in the shadows and to take down your opponents from behind. We had 5 different teams, so 1 for each universe and 1 that we call the core team that would be working on stuff that was in all 4 universes. But yeah, if you look at 2099, you'll see it's the same city, even though it's 3 different locations. Same thing for Noir. You get it. You're in New York City in the 30s, but you're in 3 different locations that look and feel the same. You're not playing the same sandbox. You get to change sandbox in every level, so that's cool.
Don't let the bedbugs bite.
We were already working on Spider-Man before Arkham Asylum came out, but we had basically the same approach that Rocksteady. I mean, our goal was to stay as close and as possible to the source material that is the comic books in our case, because like you said, it's not based on a movie. So all those 4 universes exist in the comic book format. So we wanted to stay really authentic to that source material, and the success that Arkham Asylum had just showed us basically that we were on the right track. At the beginning of the game, we thought, okay, do we want to do multiplayer or not? And we just wanted to make sure that we would be offering the best single-player experience possible. So we just decided to concentrate ourselves on making sure that this would be a quality game. And so yeah, that's why we decided not to go with multiplayer. I would say that the game is about 10 to 12 hours in your first playthrough. But if you want to unlock everything, you need to complete 180 different challenges. So if you want to do so, I would say that the game is easily closer to 28 hours. There's 6 different cinematics that ties the story together that Stan Lee is narrating. So it's really cool. I mean, if you're a Spider-Man fan like I am, to hear Stan Lee narrating your game. So it's awesome. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions will be in store in September 10th. It's on 360, PS3, and Wii. You get the same experience on all 3 consoles, and Kryptonite is doing a DS version as well.
Hey everybody, welcome back to E3 here on the show floor. We are in Activision's private quarters here on the show floor, and I am with
Kevin Umbricht, Associate Producer, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
As you can see, we have the nice poster here. Now, starting off here, we've had multiple dimensions, and we have 3 revealed so far. We have the Noir universe, we have the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and just revealed here at E3 is the Spider-Man 2099 universe. So why don't you tell us what new we can expect from 2099, Spidey?
Well, with all the other universes, each of the Spider-Man has unique mechanics involved with the gameplay. Noir has stealth integration, Amazing has big web-based combat, and with the 2099 universe, New York's been built up in the future, so we had an opportunity to play with the verticality of the levels, so we've got sort of free-fall, gliding, freeform sections that have aerial combat against the variety of enemies.
And based on the design we've seen of Spidey 29's costume, it's much more spiked. It seems much more aggressive, and that fits in with the comic book character as well. So exactly how are we going to be carrying Spidey's personality in this universe?
Well, that Spidey is, an extension of the Peter Parker Spidey. This is Miguel O'Hara. He still jokes, but he's a little bit more serious. His combat style is a little different from the other Spider-Man as well. He has talons on his fingers instead of the other Spider-Man don't, to grip to the walls. So he has a bit more of a little feral, animalistic fighting style. It's a little bit more hyperactive to tie in with the future, with the energetic world that he lives in. So, he covers a lot of distance. He also has accelerated vision, which is similar to like a spider's sense, where he can see a lot faster than everyone else, so he turns that on and can dodge enemies in the hyperactive world. It gives him a distinct advantage.
Also distinct to each universe is 1 or 2 major villains from the Spider-Man universe. For Noir, we have the Green Goblin, or Just Goblin, and we have Hammerhead, and for Amazing, we have Kraven the Hunter. So who are we going to expect to be going toe-to-toe with in 2099?
You're going to be up against the Hobgoblin, who is an original creation for this game. We worked with Dan Slott, our writer. He's the head writer on The Amazing Spider-Man, and in conjunction with Marvel to create a new version of the Hobgoblin that hasn't appeared in the 2099 universe before. So it's based on the traditional Amazing designs of the Hobgoblin, but blown out for the future.
Fantastic. Now, so maybe we can tease a little bit. When can we expect the 4th Dimension Spidey to be revealed?
That will be at San Diego Comic-Con, which is, a perfect venue for a Spider-Man game to have a big announcement.
Absolutely. And when can we expect this to finally be out and playable in our homes?
In September. It'll be out on 360, PS3, and Wii, and we have a separate DS SKU as well.
Okay, fantastic. Now, if you want to see this again and all the greatest stuff coming out of E3 this year, head on over to elder-geek.com.
Okay, what's the big difference between this game and all the others?
It's pretty simple. 4 playable Spider-Man. That's the big difference. So what we decided to do was inspire ourselves with what's been done in the comics and bring up a game in which you get to play 4 different Spider-Man. We have the classic Amazing Spider-Man that everybody's come to love, the classic superhero. We have his younger counterpart, Ultimate Spider-Man, who's been running for quite a while, back in the days, back in a few years ago. We then have Spider-Man Noir, which is a brand new series by Marvel. It's taking place in the 1930s, as if Peter Parker had gotten his powers back then. So we're taking that, transforming that into gameplay. And then we have Spider-Man 2099, which is Spider-Man in the future, inspired by the comics that was published during the 1990s.
How do you link all this together in a story?
Yes, so the story revolves around a mystical artifact known as the Tablet of Order and Chaos. That mystical artifact gets shattered at the beginning of the game. Actually, Spider-Man tries to prevent Mysterio, who is the main villain in the game, to steal it from a museum. So as they're fighting, unfortunately shatters it. The fragments are scattered across the multiple dimensions, and Madam Web, which is an important character, in the Spider-Man universe, sort of like, all-knowing, all-seeing type of character, tells him that he'll have to find a way to retrieve the fragments of the tablet. And so she recruits the help of all the other Spider-Men and all the other dimensions to retrieve them. And so the story goes in parallel. Each Spider-Man is doing his own thing, but each Spider-Man is aware of each other. So basically we have 3 acts. So in each act you get to choose 1 level of each dimension. Once you go through that, in any order you choose, then you move on to Act 2, and we move the story along and so forth.
Okay, so there is a lot of replayability then, because you can, when you replay the game, you can choose another dimension, if I understand it.
Yes, we have replayability big time. Well, the way it works is that, of course, we have multiple level of difficulties to go through the game, but it's not just like going through the game by selecting the level of difficulty at the beginning of the game and having to complete all the way through. You can already select the level of difficulty you want to go through on each level. So let's say you complete the game on medium, you complete a level on medium, you can already jump into it on hard and try to get the best score possible, because we rate each level with medals, and you can only get the platinum medals by playing on hard. Also, we unlock different things depending on the level of difficulty, but not only that, we also have what we call the Web of Destiny. And in the Web of Destiny, we have 180 challenges scattered throughout the game, 15 in each level, and we sort of require the player to complete the game a certain way or fight a certain way. It serves as sort of our inner achievement system, if you will. So the more challenges you complete, the more moves you unlock, and the more cool stuff you unlock, like alternate suits, more combos, more powerful moves. And as you unlock them, then you become more powerful. So the players who actually want to see everything and become at the peak of the power of the character will have to play the game probably more than once.
What's the difference from a gameplay perspective between each Spider-Man?
Yes, so we wanted to make 4 games in one, sort of. So it was important for us to have distinction between the 4 universes. So Amazing Spider-Man, it's all about web-based combat. So the combat is unique to him. You're not going to see that anywhere else in the game. So it's all web-based combat. So you create basically giant shapes, giant weapons with the web. So you can generate, like, you can build giant hammers, maces, giant fists made out of web. You can grab pieces of the ground and swing them at the enemies. So it's all web-based combat. In Spider-Man Noir, it's all about stealth. So this time around, you don't fight the same way. You don't go there guns blazing. All the levels take place at night, so you really have to hug the shadows and take down the enemies one by one. So it's really a stealth game. Now, if we talk about Spider-Man 2099, we have some unique features like the free-falling sequences, base jumping actions where you'll be chasing after a villain in midair at high speed because he has web foils on his costume. That's totally exclusive to 2099. We also have what we call the accelerated vision, which is a feature that allows Spider-Man in the future to slow down everything around him while maintaining his own speed. So that's exclusive to this character. And then we have Ultimate Spider-Man, but this time he's wearing the black suit. So the black suit, is the main feature of the Ultimate Dimension, because then you'll be, tendrils and tentacles will be coming out of the suit, and also you'll have what we call the Rage Mode, which allows the character, the more you hit enemies and the more you're being hit, you trigger the Rage Mode and you activate the power of the black suit, and then you can, unleash devastating attacks that will wipe the entire screen.
What sort of graphical engine have you used for the game?
Well, it's all in-house. So really early on, once we established that we wanted to have different art styles for each of the universes, we did a visual prototype to show that we could achieve it with our own engine. So there's nothing used from the outside world, if you will, no outsourcing of any type of technology. It's all done. It's all built in the house. And so for Amazing Spider-Man, we have sort of a tribute to vintage comic book look, vintage comic book. So it has this very vintage-looking style, almost like a comic was brought to life. Ultimate Spider-Man this time around is all about contemporary comic book style. So it's all cel-shaded, bright, saturated. Then for Spider-Man Noir, it has this film noir treatment that we wanted to bring. And Spider-Man 2099, well, it's just this very futuristic rendering of New York City.
Okay, thank you. My last question is on what platform we will see the game, and when?
Yes. So the game, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, will be released on Xbox 360, PS3, Nintendo Wii. There's also a DS version. In North America, it's coming on the September 7th. In Europe, it's September 10th. I appreciate it.